The rain had been falling since afternoon, soaking the streets of the small town until they glistened under the dim glow of streetlights. Inside a roadside diner, the kind of place where the coffee pot was never empty and the jukebox hadn't worked in years, Anna wiped down a counter that didn't really need wiping. She was tired, running on little sleep, but it was just another shift. That's when the door swung open and the bell above it gave a half-hearted ring. A man stepped in, water dripping from his jacket, holding a little girl in his arms. She clutched a worn-out teddy bear and buried her face in his shoulder. They both looked out of place, too fragile for the warm chatter of the diner, too lost for a rainy Tuesday night. Anna glanced at them instinctively. Something in her chest tightened. She'd seen truckers, teenagers sneaking fries after curfew, tired parents with screaming kids. But this was different. The man's eyes weren't angry or sad. They were hollow, like someone who'd been carrying a weight for too long. She set down her rag and walked over. "Rough night?" she asked softly, trying not to scare the child. The man hesitated, then gave a faint nod. "Yeah, just need somewhere to sit for a while." His voice was steady but tired, the kind of tired that came from more than a long day. Anna pulled out a menu, placing it in front of him. "Coffee's hot, and we've got pancakes that work miracles. At least that's what I tell myself." The little girl peeked out from behind her bear. Her cheeks were flushed, her voice small. "My tummy hurts." Anna knelt down so her eyes were level with the child's. "We've got magic pancakes for tummy aches. Want me to bring you some?" The girl gave the tiniest nod. Her father opened his mouth as if to protest, then stopped. He looked down, embarrassed. I don't really..." "It's on me," Anna interrupted with a small smile. "No arguments." For the first time since he'd walked in, the man looked at her. Not like a customer looking at a waitress, but like a man remembering what kindness felt like. Anna walked back toward the kitchen, her sneakers squeaking faintly on the floor. She didn't know why she'd offered. Maybe it was the girl's tired eyes. Maybe it was the way the man's shoulders sagged, like he was barely holding himself together. Or maybe it was because she knew what it felt like to have no one reach out when you needed it most. As the pancakes sizzled on the griddle, Anna glanced back at the booth. The man was sitting with his head bent low, whispering something to his daughter. The little girl clutched her bear, waiting, hopeful, and Anna had no idea that this rainy night, this small gesture in a quiet diner, was about to change everything. The pancakes came out golden, the smell of butter filling the diner as Anna slid the plate onto the table. The little girl's eyes lit up for a second, the way kids do when something small feels like magic. She picked at the edge of the pancake carefully, then took a bite, hugging her bear tighter as if to steady herself. Anna poured coffee for the man, setting the cup down gently. "Here you go, nothing fancy, but it does the job." "Thank you," he murmured, almost under his breath, like the words weighed more than they should have. For a few minutes the booth was quiet, except for the sound of the little girl chewing slowly. Anna turned to check on another customer, but out of the corner of her eye, she saw the man fumble for his wallet. He pulled out a crumpled bill, stared at it, then slipped it back inside. His shoulders stiffened. Anna pretended not to notice. She knew that look, pride and shame all tangled together. She'd seen it in her own mirror plenty of times. Just then, her boss came out from the kitchen window, wiping his hands on a greasy towel. He glanced at the booth, then at Anna. "You comping meals again?" His voice carried just enough for the man to hear. Anna froze, her heart sinking. She hated that tone, like kindness was something to be audited. The man shifted in his seat, looking cornered. Before Anna could respond, he reached into his pocket, pulled out the same crumpled bill, and placed it on the table. "I'll cover what I can," he said quietly, his voice steady but rough around the edges. The little girl looked up at her father, confusion flickering in her eyes. Anna quickly stepped in. "It's fine, really. The kid just needed something warm, that's all." She tried to keep her voice calm, but her boss's disapproving glare burned at the back of her neck. Finally, her boss muttered something under his breath and disappeared back into the kitchen. Anna let out a slow breath, then turned back to the man. He gave a small nod of thanks, though his hand trembled slightly as he pushed the bill toward her. "Please, take it. I don't want charity. Anna hesitated, then slipped the bill into her apron. She knew it was barely enough to cover the coffee, let alone the pancakes. But she also knew better than to argue with a man who was trying to hold on to whatever dignity he had left. For a long moment, the two of them just sat in that quiet space. Anna standing with her coffee pot, the man with his head lowered, the little girl chewing her magic pancakes as if they really could fix everything. Anna didn't realise it then, but the uneasiness of that moment, the clash of pride and kindness, of need and dignity, would stay with her far longer than she expected. By Thursday evening, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. The diner buzzed with the usual dinner crowd, families passing ketchup bottles, a couple of truckers nursing bottomless coffee. Anna was busy clearing tables when the bell over the door jingled. She looked up and froze. There they were again, the man and the little girl with the bear. This time she walked in on her own 2 feet, holding her father's hand tightly. She spotted Anna almost instantly, her lips curling into the tiniest smile, and lifted the bear like she was showing it off to an old friend. Anna grinned. "Well, look who's back. I take it you're here for the magic pancakes?" The girl nodded shyly and her father managed a faint smile. "She hasn't stopped talking about them," he admitted. They slid into the same booth as before. Anna brought water and menus, though she already knew what they'd order. Everything felt almost normal, until the bear slipped from the girl's lap and landed on the diner's floor with a soft thud. The child froze, eyes wide, staring at the bear lying face down in a small puddle of melted ice cream someone hadn't cleaned up yet. Her lip trembled, then she burst into tears. David reached for the bear quickly, wiping it with his sleeve. "It's okay, sweetheart, it's fine." But his voice cracked, and his hand shook. He looked completely undone, as if this small accident had ripped open something much larger inside him. Anna hurried over, grabbing a clean towel from behind the counter. She crouched down beside the little girl. Hey, look at me. Teddy's tough. He just needs a quick bath. You want to help me wash him off?" Through hiccuping sobs, the girl nodded. Anna walked her to the sink behind the counter, letting her hold the bear under warm water, then wrapping it gently in a napkin like a blanket. "See, good as new," Anna said softly, handing it back. The girl clutched the bear tightly, her tears slowing. She leaned into her father's side, still sniffling but calmer. David exhaled shakily, his eyes glassy. "You'd think I could handle a little thing like this," he muttered, almost to himself. Anna caught his words. She didn't push, just said quietly, "Sometimes it's the little things that break us. Doesn't mean we're weak, it means we care." For a long moment, David didn't answer. He just looked at her, really looked at her, like no one had said something that simple to him in a very long time. Anna returned to her tables, pretending nothing had happened. But inside, she knew she'd just seen the first real crack in his armour. And though she didn't understand why yet, it felt important. The Friday dinner shift was always a mix of locals and tired travellers pulling off the highway. Anna balanced plates on her arm, sliding burgers and fries onto tables, the clatter of silverware filling the diner. She was halfway through pouring a refill when the bell above the door rang. There he was again, same booth, same little girl, bear in tow. By now it almost felt expected, like the diner had quietly become their safe corner. Anna brought over water and smiled at the girl. "So, are we sticking with magic pancakes, or are we ready for something new?" The girl laughed softly. "Magic pancakes?" Anna grinned. "Figured." But as she turned to leave, she noticed the man pulling his phone from his pocket. His jaw tightened as he answered. His voice, though hushed, carried a sharp edge Anna hadn't heard before. "I told you, I'm not ready to come back. No, I don't care what the investors want. The board can wait." The words hung heavy in the air. The girl froze, fork mid-air. Anna pretended to check her order pad, but every nerve caught the tension. The man's voice dropped lower, almost a growl. "If they can't give me time, then maybe they don't need me at all." He ended the call with a forceful tap, the screen face down on the table. Silence lingered. The girl stared at her pancake without touching it. Her small hand reached for the bear instead. Anna stepped closer, setting down a small plate of cookies she'd grabbed from the counter. "These aren't magic, but they do help when things feel heavy," she said lightly, sliding the plate toward the girl. The little one's face brightened just enough. She picked up a cookie, nibbling at the edge. The man exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Sorry you had to hear that," he said, glancing up at Anna. His voice was calmer now, almost apologetic. Anna shook her head. Hey, no worries. Phones have a way of making people forget they're still human. He almost smiled, a flicker that disappeared just as quickly. Human, he repeated quietly, as if the word itself was something he hadn't felt in a long time. Anna moved on to the next table, but the thoughts stuck with her. Whoever this man was, he carried more than just the burden of being a single father. There was a whole world pressing down on him, one he clearly didn't want to share. And yet the cracks in his silence were starting to show. The diner was closing early that night. The rain had returned, tapping against the windows in uneven rhythms. Anna was wiping down booths when the bell above the door rang again. She looked up, surprised. She hadn't expected anyone this late. It was him, but this time something was wrong. He carried his daughter in his arms, her face pale against his shoulder, her teddy bear dangling from her grip. Please, he said, his voice tight, almost breaking. Do you have hot water? She's burning up. Anna's stomach dropped. She rushed to fill a mug, grabbing a clean towel on the way back. The girl whimpered softly, pressing her cheek against her father's chest. Her fever spiked out of nowhere, he explained quickly. I gave her medicine earlier, but she keeps getting worse. Anna's hands trembled as she handed him the mug. Here, use this for the compress. There's a clinic a few blocks down, but they might be closed this late. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone. My friend's a nurse. Let me call her. He looked at her, startled. You'd do that? Anna nodded. Of course. While the phone rang, Anna dabbed the towel in warm water and gently pressed it against the girl's forehead. The child stirred, eyes fluttering open for a moment. Anna leaned close, whispering, Hang in there, sweetheart. You're safe. Her friend picked up, and Anna explained quickly. The nurse walked her through steps, cool compresses, fluids, watching for warning signs. Anna listened carefully, following each instruction, steadying herself even as her own chest tightened. Minutes passed slowly, the three of them huddled in the quiet diner. The girl's breathing eased, her fever breaking just enough for her to drift into sleep against her father's chest. The man looked up at Anna, his eyes wet but steady. You didn't have to help us like this. Anna shook her head. Nobody should have to go through that alone. For a long moment he said nothing. He just sat there, cradling his daughter, holding on as if afraid the world might take her away too. When the storm outside finally eased, so did the tension in the room. The man whispered, almost to himself, You saved us tonight. Anna didn't answer. She just pulled another blanket from the back closet and draped it over them, quietly watching as the little girl's small chest rose and fell in the calm that followed. The next afternoon, the diner was busier than usual. Families crowded into booths, travellers lined the counter, and Anna hustled between tables with her usual tired smile. She tried not to think too much about the night before, about the way the man had held his daughter, as if she were his entire world. But the image clung to her. The bell above the door chimed. This time it wasn't him, it was someone else. A tall woman in a tailored blazer and heels stepped inside, looking completely out of place among the smell of fried bacon and the hum of chatter. She scanned the room quickly, her eyes sharp, and then walked straight toward Anna. Excuse me, the woman said. I'm looking for a man who's been here recently. Tall, dark hair, usually with a little girl. Anna froze. Who's asking? The woman softened her tone, realizing she sounded too stern. My name's Rebecca. I work with him. His name is David Parker. The name hit Anna like a sudden jolt. She'd never asked his name. Somehow, not knowing had made it easier, like he could just exist in her world as a tired dad who came in for coffee and pancakes. But hearing it aloud made him real. I don't know if he's here, Anna said carefully, but he comes by sometimes. Rebecca exhaled, relief washing over her face. Good. At least I'm not chasing a ghost. He's been distant. Ever since his wife passed, he's shut out everyone. The company's been running without him, but we can't much longer. Company. The word lingered in Anna's head. This wasn't just some struggling dad. There was more, much more. Before she could respond, the diner door opened again. David stepped inside, his daughter holding tightly to his hand. He froze when he saw Rebecca. The little girl looked between them nervously, her grip on the teddy bear tightening. Rebecca's eyes softened. David, please, you can't keep disappearing. People are worried, you're bored, your team. Not here, David cut in, his voice low but firm. His gaze shifted toward Anna, almost apologetic, before turning back to Rebecca. I just needed space. The diner had gone unusually quiet. Anna felt every pair of eyes flicking toward their corner booth. She quickly grabbed menus, pretending to be busy, giving them whatever privacy she could. Still, she couldn't unhear what Rebecca had said. Bored, company, a man who wasn't just a grieving father, but someone carrying the weight of an entire business on his shoulders. When Rebecca finally left, David guided his daughter to their booth. His jaw was tight, his eyes shadowed, but when he looked at Anna, his expression softened. "Guess you heard enough," he said quietly. Anna set down the menus. "I heard just enough to know you've got more going on than you let on." He gave a tired smile, one that didn't quite reach his eyes. That's one way to put it. For the first time, Anna realised the man sitting in her diner wasn't just someone trying to get through the day. He was someone hiding from a world that still demanded more of him than he could give. And whether she wanted to or not, she was now part of that world too. The diner had long since emptied out, the last of the dinner crowd heading back into the cool night. Anna was stacking coffee cups when she noticed David still sitting in the corner booth, his daughter asleep against his arm, her teddy bear tucked under her chin. He hadn't moved for nearly an hour, just staring at the dark window as if it might give him answers. Anna wiped her hands on her apron and walked over quietly. "We're closing soon. Want me to pack something up for you?" David looked up slowly, his voice low. "She's finally resting. I didn't want to wake her." Anna slid into the opposite seat, lowering her voice. "You don't have to explain. I've seen enough tired parents pass through here to know sometimes this is the only place you can breathe." For the first time he gave a small laugh, but it was hollow. "Breathing. That's exactly what I've been chasing." He rubbed his temple, searching for the words. "When my wife got sick, I thought I could fix it. I threw money at doctors, spent nights reading every study I could find. But in the end, all the board meetings, all the late flights, none of it mattered. She was gone, and I missed half the little moments trying to save her." His voice cracked and he stopped, swallowing hard. Anna stayed quiet, letting the silence hold his pain without rushing to fill it. He continued after a moment. "After the funeral, people treated me like two things, a boss or a broken man. I didn't want to be either. Then one night, I drove until I found this place. A diner where no one expected me to have answers. Just coffee, just pancakes, just..." He gestured helplessly at the table. "Just being a dad." Anna's throat tightened. She reached across the table, not touching his hand, but close enough that he could feel her presence. "You don't owe anyone the perfect version of yourself. Not your company, not the world. Your daughter just needs you. The rest can wait." For a long time, David didn't respond. He simply looked at her with eyes that carried both exhaustion and gratitude. "You talk like it's simple," he whispered. Anna shrugged, offering the faintest smile. "Simple doesn't mean easy, but sometimes it's all we've got." The clock on the wall ticked softly, the hum of the refrigerator filling the space between them. It wasn't much, but in that quiet booth, David looked less like a man running from something and more like a father trying, however clumsily, to find his way back. The diner was quieter than usual that Saturday night. A few regulars lingered over pie and coffee, the jukebox humming faintly in the corner. Anna was topping off cups when the door swung open hard enough to rattle the bell. A man stumbled in, smelling of alcohol, his boots scuffing against the tiled floor. He dropped onto a stool at the counter, banging his hand for service. "Coffee strong and don't take all night," he barked. Anna kept her voice steady. "Sure thing." She'd dealt with his kind before, late-night drinkers trying to sober up, but the way his eyes followed her made her uneasy. As she set the mug down, he smirked. "You're too pretty to be wasting time in a dump like this. Bet you get all kinds of lonely working nights." Anna stiffened, forcing a polite smile before stepping back. She hated moments like this, trapped between keeping her job and keeping her dignity. From the corner booth, David had been watching. His daughter was home with a neighbour for the evening, which meant for once he didn't have a child to shield. He rose slowly, crossing the room with a calmness that carried weight. "Hey," David said evenly, placing a 20 on the counter in front of the man. "Your coffee's covered. Time to call it a night." The drunk man squinted up at him, unimpressed. "Who are you supposed to be?" David's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed controlled. "Just someone who doesn't like the way you're talking to her." the man muttered under his breath, but, faced with David's steady stare, finally shoved back his stool. He grabbed the 20, sloshed his coffee, and stumbled out into the night without another word. The diner fell quiet again, as if the walls themselves exhaled. Anna let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "You didn't have to do that," she said softly. David looked at her, his expression gentler now. "You've been standing up for me and my little girl since the day we walked in here. It was my turn." Anna swallowed hard, caught off guard by the sincerity in his words. For the first time, it wasn't just about him needing a place to escape, it was about him choosing to show up for her. The two of them stood there in the warm light of the diner, something unspoken settling between them. Not pity, not obligation, something steadier, something that felt a lot like trust. The diner was nearly empty when David showed up that night. He didn't bring his daughter, and Anna could tell right away something was different. He wasn't here for coffee. He was here with a purpose. She slid into the booth across from him, wiping her hands nervously on her apron. "You've got that look," she said, "like you've been practicing a speech in your head all day." David gave a tired smile. "Maybe I have." He took a breath. "Anna, you know by now I'm not just some guy hiding out in a diner. My wife and I built a company together, and before she passed, she asked me to do something I've been running from ever since." His voice dropped lower. "She wanted us to start a foundation for kids who've lost a parent to cancer, for families who can't carry it all alone." Anna felt her chest tighten. She thought of her own mother, the medical bills stacked high on her kitchen table, the nights she lay awake wondering if she was doing enough. David went on. "I've tried to avoid it. I told myself I wasn't strong enough. But then I came here, and I saw the way you treated my daughter, the way you treat people, not out of pity, but with dignity. That's the voice the foundation needs." Anna's throat went dry. "Me? David, I'm a waitress. I don't have degrees or fancy words. Half the time I can barely keep my own family afloat." "That's exactly why," he said firmly. "You know what it feels like to fight every day and still show kindness. No resume teaches that." She shook her head, her heart racing. "What if I mess it up? What if I'm not enough?" Her voice cracked as years of buried fear slipped out. "I can't afford to gamble on dreams. My mum's sick. My brother needs me. I can't just..." She stopped, her eyes burning. David didn't move closer, didn't try to fix it. He simply said, "This isn't a gamble. It's a chance to turn everything you've survived into something that matters. And you won't be alone. I'll be there. My daughter will be there. We need you as much as you think you need us." Anna looked away, blinking hard. The diner lights blurred through her tears. All her life, kindness had been something she gave away in small pieces. Cookies, pancakes, smiles, never expecting anything back. And here was someone telling her those small pieces could build something bigger. Slowly she looked back at him. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "If I say yes, I'm not your charity case. I'm not a project you're saving." David's eyes were steady, his words sure. "No, you'd be my partner. In this, in more than this." For a long moment, Anna sat there, every fear and every hope colliding inside her. Then with a shaky breath, she nodded. Not because she wasn't afraid, but because for the first time in a long time, hope felt heavier than fear. The morning of the Foundation's launch was bright and crisp, the kind of day that made the world feel lighter. Anna stood just outside the community centre, smoothing down her simple dress with nervous hands. She'd never been part of something like this before. For years her world had been bills, shifts and sleepless nights. Now she was about to stand beside a man who carried more weight than she could imagine, and somehow he had asked her to share it. She almost didn't come. Her mother's health had taken a turn the night before, and for a moment Anna thought about backing out, telling David it was too much. But then, as she sat by her mother's bedside, her mother had squeezed her hand and whispered, "Go. Don't waste your kindness on just surviving. Use it for something bigger." Those words carried her here. Inside, the room was buzzing with people, supporters, families, children running around in their Sunday clothes. David was at the front, his daughter perched on his arm, the teddy bear still clutched tightly in her hand. When he saw Anna, His face softened and he made his way toward her. "You came," he said quietly, relief in his voice. "I almost didn't," Anna admitted. "But then I realized I needed to." He nodded as if he understood completely. "So did I." The ceremony began. Speeches were made, donors thanked, stories shared about families who would benefit from the foundation. And then it was Anna's turn. She hadn't planned to speak, but David insisted. She walked to the microphone, her palms damp, her heart pounding. She looked out at the crowd, strangers, yet somehow not strangers at all. "I'm not used to this," she began, her voice trembling. "I'm just someone who works in a diner, someone who's been trying to make ends meet. But a little girl walked in one rainy night with her dad, and I realized something. Sometimes it takes only one small kindness, a cookie, a pancake, a kind word, to remind someone that they still matter, that they're not alone." Her eyes found David in the crowd, his daughter leaning against his shoulder, smiling shyly. "I don't know what the future holds," Anna continued, "but I know this. We're all carrying something, and if we can lighten someone else's load, even for a moment, then maybe that's the kind of work worth giving our lives to." When she stepped down, David was waiting. His hand found hers steady and sure as the room filled with applause. Later, as the crowd thinned and the afternoon sun streamed through the windows, Anna stood beside him and his daughter. The little girl reached for her hand too, her bear wedged between them, binding the three of them in a way words never could. It hadn't started with grand gestures or perfect plans. It started with pancakes on a rainy night. But sometimes that's enough to change everything. Kindness doesn't need to be grand to change a life. Sometimes a simple act, a smile, a pancake, a helping hand, can become the very thing that gives someone the strength to begin again. Thank you for staying with us until the very end of this story. I'm truly grateful for your time. If this touched you, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need it today. I'll see you again soon, right here on Rain Inside.